In 1976, Stevie Wonder released the album Songs in the Key of Life, an album which is now universally recognized as one of the greatest of all time. But did you know that, the problem is, it almost didn't... No, stop. Take the graphics down. All right, here's the problem. We've been doing Camp Digs, right? We're diving through 6 classic albums in 6 weeks, and it's week 5, and the idea here was that you, all of you signed up on Patreon, get to vote on which album we should cover for week 5. Let me show you the poll here. This is crazy. In 3rd place was Black on Both Sides by Mos Def with 16%. 2nd place was Aquemini by Outkast with 20%, but the winner, by a margin of 1%, was Songs in the Key of Life by Stevie Wonder. Great. I love this album. It's absolutely incredible. Like, what's the problem? Why am I derailing this video before it even starts? Well, I have a theory about the world, and this album proves me wrong. I'll unpack that more in a moment, but here's the other, more direct problem I have. How the hell can I even talk about this album? There's a quote that goes, talking about music is like dancing about architecture, meaning that, like, if you wanted to communicate something about architecture through the medium of dance, that's a ridiculously impossible task. It's the same thing for talking about music, especially an album like this. Music just exists as its own language and resonates on a human level that is beneath what language can address. On top of all of that, this album is almost 50 years old, and so much has been said about it, written about it, analyzed. What could I possibly add to this conversation? Especially considering that there's 21 songs, we only have so much time in this video, I don't have any stems, and I can't play the music itself on YouTube. Side note, YouTube copyright is a hot topic right now. Professor of Rock, Rick Beato, and Anthony Fantano have all posted videos about this. It's a messed up system that needs to be fixed. And my solution is Patreon, where I have extended videos, like last week's was 11 minutes longer. This one, I'm not sure based on the edit yet, but it's gonna be much longer. Rick Beato's solution is to hire a lawyer full-time to fight copyright claims on YouTube, which I just can't believe that that's the solution. That's where we're at. This is so frustrating. Anyway, we're doing a campfire live stream later this week where we'll listen to the whole album, and I'll have much more commentary to include there on individual tracks. But still, what is this video? Well, I'm going to attempt to get by with a little help from my friends. Last week, I asked a bunch of my musician friends to give me their thoughts on this album. My friends aren't just great musicians, they record, perform, and tour the world at the highest levels. You're going to hear about different aspects of this album from different points of view, and maybe, just maybe, by the end, we will have danced about the architecture that is Songs in the Key of Life. And after that, I'll tell you why this album proves my theory of the world wrong. But first, let's talk about the basics of this album. Before this album was released, Stevie Wonder was already a massive star, having started out as a child prodigy at Motown, releasing many albums that were not only commercially successful, but critically as well. In 1972, he released Music of My Mind and Talking Book, followed by Inner Visions and Fulfillingness's first finale in 73 and 74, respectively. He'd already won Grammy Awards, sold millions of albums, and was one of the most successful artists in the history of the music industry. Then, after getting in a car accident that nearly killed him, his priorities shifted. He considered quitting music and moving to Ghana to help disabled children.
Brandon, you want me to talk about Songs in the Key of Life? Are you kidding me? Where do you even begin? Okay? It's the album that almost never was, because Stevie, about to retire from music and move to Africa because he's unhappy with how the US government is handling their situation in the world.
But he ultimately decided to return to music after signing a 7-year, 7-album contract with Tamla, a subsidiary of Motown, which was at the time the highest paid recording contract in history. And then 2.5 years later, nearly 200 songs, 300 musicians, 4 recording studios on 2 coasts, he releases Songs in the Key of Life.
Now, at this point, Stevie Wonder is 26 years old, right? And he had already made 17 full-length albums. This was his 18th album at 26 years old.
A blend of soul, jazz, R&B, 21 tracks spread over a double album and an additional EP. An absolutely magnificent album. Stevie Wonder is Michael Jordan, and Songs in the Key of Life is his 96 Bulls. What's so incredible about this album is that it's firing on all levels. Let's take this one element at a time and break this down. Let's start with the songwriting. Stevie Wonder is an incredible songwriter. He has a unique ability to write songs that are catchy, they're beautiful melodies, intricate chords, but it's also very accessible to the everyday listener.
I think one thing that makes this album incredible is how well-rounded it is. And what I mean by that is this album is catered to every single listener that listens to it. If you're creative, if you're an artist, if you're a producer, if you're a songwriter, or if you're a musician or vocal arranger, whatever, if you do anything in that field, this album is a masterclass of the craft.
While Songs in the Key of Life, the album has 21 tracks. He wrote over 200 songs for this album. That's a rate of only 10%. The rest of the songs are locked away in the vault and have never been released. So, right out of the gate, we're getting the best of what Stevie, who is one of the best, has to offer. I personally don't think I want those other 180 songs released. Like, it's better not knowing and just having this album itself. Though, Stevie said he wrote I Can't Help It, you know, the Michael Jackson song, he wrote that for this album. So, who knows? Stevie has the ability to write things that are incredibly intricate, like take the song Contusion. That's a lot of rich jazz chords in there, but he can also keep it relatively simple. So songs like I Wish or Sir Duke, they are based on the minor or major pentatonic scale, respectively. So while lines like the Sir Duke horn line sound amazing and complex, when you break it down, it's really just 5 notes. I guess you get that 6th chromatic one in there, but it's very simple. Even though the line that we're talking about, that's fairly simple, the chords, they're a little more out of the box, but not as out of the box as something like Contusion.
Now, Sir Duke might be one of my earliest musical memories because I remember my dad very distinctly saying, look, listen to this verse. He's naming other artists that have been around in the history of music. I had never heard of some of those people. I learned about the greats from one of the greats, Mr. Stevie Wonder, right? And that song is just so dang catchy, okay?
And then there are songs that sit right in the middle between these two extremes, and this is mostly where Stevie lives.
I'm going to choose one song to take a look at, and that song is All Day Sucker. This song, in a music nerdy fashion, uses a lot of 2-5-1s, which is basically an extinct way of writing a song. It's literally a 2-5-1. It's like boom, boom, boom. It's a way to turn around the music, but modern day music doesn't use a lot of 2-5-1s, hardly at all. Stevie Wonder used to use it all the time, and I find that it's a very, very powerful way to move throughout the song, especially in the chorus. Stevie Wonder is using this a lot. Modern day music, they build vertically, so they stack, like it'll be like a 4 or 8 bar loop, and then they'll have really, really creative ways to like stack, almost like a Legos, they'll stack the song vertically. So they'll add crazy sounds, crazy guitar parts, crazy synth parts, and they'll stack it, and they'll take parts away and add parts as the song develops. But I feel back in the day, in the 70s, 76, when this came out, that music was more almost like horizontal, like you're reading, some sheet music or something like that, where they wouldn't they wouldn't stack it so vertically, they'd stack it horizontally. And the best way to drive that horizontal train forward is by having 2-5-1s. And I have a feeling that that's why Stevie Wonder wanted to implement and use them so much, is it's just a great way to literally lay up to the next chord.
So Songwriting on this album is fantastic, but the execution of these songs, the playing, is also amazing. Stevie plays a lot of the instruments on this album, like keys, synth bass, some drums, vocals obviously. Sometimes he would tell other musicians that he wanted to play it instead of them, just because he knew exactly what he wanted. But there's also a ton of legendary musicians involved. Over 300. Musicians like George Benson, Minnie Riperton, Eddie Bongo Brown, Nathan Watts, Herbie Hancock, Greg Fillinganes, Dorothy Ashby. It's unreal. Let's take a listen to I Wish and just sit with the groove here. It's so good. Stevie is an amazing singer, not only technically, but when he sings, it's full of heart. Like, I believe it. I believe he really means what he's singing. Let's take a listen to the very first thing you hear on this album, the song Love's in Need of Love Today. And again, keep in mind the extended edit on Patreon is much longer. I have to cut these down to 5 seconds on each song on YouTube, but this video, it's a whole lot longer on Patreon.
You know that moment at the end of Beyonce's Love on Top where she just keeps modulating it and repeating the chorus, and it adds so much energy and excitement to an already incredible song, right? Well, she wasn't the first one to do it. And I'm not saying that Stevie Wonder was the first one, but he did use it in my favorite track off of Songs in the Key of Life called Summer Soft. And she's gone, gone, winter is gone, you've been fooled by April, and she's gone, and she's gone, summer's gone, you've been fooled by April, and she's gone. Here we go, we're modulating every chorus now. So beautiful. Such a great device to add more emotion and to add more excitement into the song. And also kind of show that seasons keep changing over and over and over. As soon when you get used to it, it's gone. You grieve. You appreciate the new season. That season's gone. You grieve again. And it's just a cycle that happens over and over, right? So we have this note that hangs. And she's gone. Don't blink or you might miss it. And she's gone. So that melody stays the same while everything is changing. So maybe Stevie's trying to tell us, hey, even if you try to stand still, the seasons are going to keep changing. You can't escape it.
Okay, so the chords are fantastic, the musicians, the execution, Stevie's vocal. I believe him. And what is it that I believe?
The lyrics are absolutely phenomenal. Like, this dude was in his bag when he was writing these lyrics. They are so good and they hit heavy. And they're just brilliant to listen to and to kind of take in.
Stevie talks about real stuff on this album. The song Isn't She Lovely he wrote after his daughter was born. Heartbreak on Summer Soft. Spirituality on Have a Talk with God.
And even songs where, you know, people might not have a direct connection, like Village Ghetto Land, you know, not everybody will experience that. But there are also people that have experienced that life. And so this song is like a perfect painting of like, this is probably what it was like for some people. And let's just take some time to have some awareness of that.
There's too much to talk about. Keep going. Okay, we get to Isn't She Lovely. He's a new dad, and he's putting these feelings and emotions of being a new father into song with Isn't She Lovely? Just an amazing feel and song, and then includes Aisha, his daughter, bathing as an audio track in the whole song. I mean, come on, that's just way too cool, right?
These songs are all in different keys, technically, but they're all in the key, you know where I'm going with this, of life. Let's take a look at the lyrics to one of my favorite songs, As around the sun the earth knows she's revolving, and the rosebuds know to bloom in early May, just as hate knows love's the cure, you can rest your mind assure that I'll be loving you always. Gorgeous. Until the rainbow burns the stars out in the sky, always. Until the ocean covers every mountain high, always. Until the dolphin flies and parrots live at sea. We're just talking impossible things at this point. Always. Until we dream of life and life becomes a dream. But then the shouty part at the end. Look at what he's actually singing. We all know sometimes life, hates, and troubles can make you wish you were born in another time and space. But you can bet your lifetimes that, and twice it's double, that God knew exactly where He wanted you to be placed. So make sure when you say you're in it but not of it, you're not helping to make this earth a place sometimes called hell. Change your words into truth, and then change that truth into love, and maybe our children's grandchildren and their great-great-grandchildren will tell. Written almost 50 years ago. Still just as powerful, moving, and relevant. Okay, but now put that together with the chords. Put Herbie Hancock on Rhodes. Put Stevie singing these words on top. And now what do we get?
We've all heard this song, until the raindrops and the stars out in the sky. We've all heard this song. We love it. It's a beautiful song. It's very redundant. He's trying to get you to really understand love. Like, he cannot stop loving you. But what I want to key in on is a vocal technique that he always uses in songs at the later part of the song. And there's actually, and the third verse as well, because he uses it on the third verse. And he's trying to get you to hear something. And he always does this when he's trying to get your attention. There's always something that happens before it, and he always uses it at the end of songs. And actually, Stevie has a name for this word. He calls his growl Fozzie Bear. After this long minute and a half interlude that he could have not had or taken out, because after this verse, it just keeps saying the chorus. So he could have made this song shorter, but he didn't. And he's trying to get you to hear this. So this is around the 3:53 mark. In being biblical, being religious, me as a Christian, this is literally an angel telling a prophecy to you, telling you what to do, telling you what not to do, telling you about your future, telling you about your children, telling you about your children's children. And he waited for you to be listening to the music, for you to be like, okay, this is great, to then give you Fozzie Bear, his vocal technique. And he specifically does this because he wants you to listen. He wants you to hear what he's saying. And then after this, he drills it into you. I'll be loving you. I'll be loving you. But now I'll be loving you from a God standpoint. He's talking about different kinds of loves here. So that first verse would be ethos. The second verse would be pathos love. Then the third verse is love, godly love, that he had to switch his voice and say, I'm Fozzie Bear, to tell you how love is from a godly standpoint, and that your children's great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren need to be listening to this through you and through him as he's being a vessel. So that's what I always take from this song, and that's what I love so much about As. It's so amazing.
This album took 2.5 years to make, from the writing and recording to the mixing. It was postponed, and Stevie famously wore a t-shirt that said, "We're almost finished," because people were waiting for this album to come out. I haven't found a picture of this, but apparently there's also shirts they made that said, "Let's mix Contusion again." But just the way this album was recorded, it sounds beautiful. You can have incredible songs, incredible singer, amazing lyrics, great musicians, etc. But if it's not recorded well, it's just gonna be a bummer to listen to. This is another level of excellence on this album, just the sonic quality of everything. It's so pure, like it doesn't sound overly produced. It's polished, sure, but it also just feels natural. This album was recorded in 4 different recording studios on both the East and West Coast and engineered by John Fishbach and Gary Olazabal. The whole thing just sounds so organic and warm. Let's take a listen to the song Ordinary Pain to see what I mean.
When by the phone, in vain you sit.
And then there's another aspect that I love with this album. It's the marriage of organic instruments and synthesizers. Stevie was already a pioneer in the synth world. We've heard him use synths before, but this album, it so perfectly marries the natural sounds of instruments like piano, drums, or the human voice, marries that with electronic instruments like bass guitar or the Fender Rhodes, but then there's also pure synthesizers like the Moog or the Yamaha GX1. The Yamaha GX1 was a massive experimental keyboard that was a prototype. There were only a handful ever made, and they cost $60,000 in 1976. So adjusted for inflation, that's $320,000 in today's money, and Stevie owned 2. He called it the Dream Machine and used it on this album, especially on songs like Village Ghettoland and Pastime Paradise. Let's listen to Pastime Paradise. Those strings that you hear, that's the Yamaha GX1.
And of course, it goes on to propel Stevie to win his next Grammy Award for Album of the Year. Now, the best part, my favorite anecdote about this whole thing, Stevie Wonder had won Album of the Year twice, back to back. And then he didn't release an album, which allowed Paul Simon to win the Grammy Award for Album of the Year with Still Crazy after all these years. The very last person Paul Simon thanked in his acceptance speech was Stevie Wonder, who didn't make an album this year. Because sure enough, the very next year, Songs in the Key of Life was nominated for Album of the Year, and it won.
This album is proof that great work takes time. It took 2.5 years to make, and Stevie's schedule was crazy, recording into all hours of the night, calling in musicians at the last minute, just following his inspiration. But the result of all of this combined, the songwriting, the musicians, the recording, the lyrics, the technology, is an album that is absolutely timeless. It still sounds incredible nearly 50 years later.
Music is so wonderfully generational. I feel like it's passed down. I was introduced to this music from Stevie Wonder and the Songs of Key of Life when I moved to LA and I started working with musicians. I love that it was passed down to me by the people that loved it.
Yeah, this album is just too good, man. It's just too good.
I didn't even mention I Wish or Knocks Me Off My Feet or Pastime Paradise, bro.
And here is where we get to my problem. I have a theory about the world, and this album proves me wrong. My theory is that anytime anything gets really big, it gets bad. And this is true in just about every area of life. Like, think about social media. It started out as a way to just connect with your friends, and now in 2025, we're just blasting pixels into our eyes. Either all the horrors of the entire world, or the absolute dumbest stuff. Though, I'm with you, the Coldplay Kiss Cam affair is a cultural moment. Honestly, I could talk about that for a long time. But think about movies. Marvel dominated the box office for a decade, but after Endgame, it's just not as good anymore. Think about how streaming services are just cable again. How Apple used to be the pinnacle of innovation, and now it's just fine. The fall of Kanye West, like the list goes on and on. In general, whenever something gets too big, it starts to get bad. On the dark end, there can be manipulation and abuse, and on the lighter end, it's just people drinking their own Kool-Aid and it all starts to go downhill. And Songs in the Key of Life proves my theory wrong. Stevie Wonder was already a massive star. He considered leaving music, moving to Ghana, but he decides to come back. He signs a historic recording contract and then actually delivers. 21 songs that are incredible musically, lyrically, everything from the production to the arranging, and the album is incredibly commercially successful. Normally, this level of musicality or lyrical depth just isn't that commercially viable. But somehow Stevie pulled it off. The album is huge, Stevie Wonder is huge, musically it's amazing, and it's sold over 10 million copies to date. It's somehow a big commercial hit, and as a work of art, absolutely stunning. And it just makes me rethink my theory about the world. Like, I think I'm right in some respects, but then how do you explain this? Now it's time to hear from you. You guys picked this album for week 5, and I put up a submission link earlier this week, so let's hear what you think about this album.
This is a nostalgic album for me, man. My mom would pick me up from high school, and she would just play albums she loved, and she got to Songs in the Key of Life. And there's songs I already heard, like As, I Wish, Isn't She Lovely? We've all heard those songs, but then we got to like songs that I ain't never heard, you know what I mean? Ordinary Pain, the second part of Ordinary Pain. Ebony Eyes, Black Man. Just started listening to all of these different songs that are off this album, and I truly fell in love with it, man. It definitely became the reason I am who I am and how I am today, man. It molded me into my love for music.
Very, very fond memories of it being the first double album I ever bought. I was in the 6th grade. Everything on it was great. I got stuck on that. I got stuck on Knocks Me Off My Feet, and I got stuck on As when I first got it. And also what got me too was it was the first album I ever bought that came with a 45.
I mean, he has some terrific runs, some terrific ad-libs on this album. And every time I'm listening to some of them, all of a sudden I can start hearing like, oh, that sounds a bit like Michael Jackson, or oh, that sounds a bit like Glenn Hughes from Deep Purple. And then I stop and I realize, oh man, this is the guy they got it from.
2 things that I love about this album. He doesn't repeat a genre, for real, if you really listen to it. Each song sounds different than the last song. And I love that, especially in a world where today every song sounds the hell same.
All right, the next thing we're doing is the Campfire live stream later this week with a food and drink pairing. To get all the details and the link to join, head to patreon.com/diggingthegreats, and I will see you there.